Welcome back to BLOCKTV. It's time now for Chain Breakers. Today, India. With a population of almost 1.4 billion, it is undoubtedly a country with great potential for blockchain adoption. Yet, so far, this potential has been massively underutilized, as the government has maintained a crackdown on digital asset technology. With signs there may be a loosening of the strings, we speak with Sumit Gupta, CEO and co-founder of CoinDCX, a leading exchange in the Indian market. Firstly, Sumit, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Asha, for inviting me here.
Our absolute pleasure. Now, to kick things off, before we get into the meat of policy in India, tell us a little bit about CoinDCX, what it is you guys do, and what differentiates you from other players in the market.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Just to give you a brief background about my journey into the world of blockchain and crypto, right? So in 2014, I got exposed and introduced to the distributed ledger technology and cryptocurrencies, right? And I was fascinated by looking at the impact that these technologies can create and solve problems that the traditional financial markets have currently, right? And I could imagine that how we can bring these decentralized marketplaces and cryptocurrencies and bring a platform where users can interact and transact using these cryptos, right? So we started CoinDCX, to enable global financial inclusion by building the global fintech movement in crypto. The first product that we launched was a very light exchange with extremely high liquidity, which was CoinDCX. And within 1 year of inception, it grew to become India's largest cryptocurrency trading platform, right? So the objective of CoinDCX is we bring all the crypto trading products under a single roof. And all the products are designed for all type of traders, considering their experience with crypto, risk tolerance, and frequency of trading, right? So we have a variety of products. So on CoinDCX, people can trade across 500 plus extremely liquid markets via DCX trade, convert their Indian rupees to cryptos, and vice versa on DCX Insta, earn interest on their holdings with DCX Lend, and can trade on margin on 250 plus altcoins using our DCX margin product with up to 5 times the leverage, right? So, and all of our users have found our product very simple. And since the day of launch, we have been seeing rapid growth in terms of users. So yeah, so this is what we do.
Right. All right. So now we have a little bit of an understanding of what it is you guys do, but I want to understand the context in which you're working, because so many people outside of India still consider the country to be a relative black hole when it comes to cryptocurrencies. And you're the CEO of an Indian-focused exchange, albeit headquartered in Singapore. But explain to us the state of Indian crypto regulation as it stands now and looking forward into the future.
Sure, that's a very interesting question. And with this platform, I would like to highlight that there has been a lot of misinformation when it comes to regulations around crypto in India, right? So the Indian government is still studying about the pros and cons of the of crypto in terms of the country's financial markets. The truth about crypto regulation is that it's a long drawn process. Yes, it would be great to have a faster regulation, but there are still a lot of factors that needs to be taken into consideration for a government like India before they start regulating it, right? For instance, the government and the associated regulatory body are taking their time to study the technology in depth, which includes blockchain and cryptocurrencies. But I think the regulations will eventually come. And it's just a matter of time when the government will study about in depth about the technology, underlying technology, and see how to best regulate it in a country like India.
But
I have.
Please continue.
Yeah, so sure, we are very confident on the government that they will take all the facts into consideration before passing an act. And just to give you an update that there's a case in Supreme Court that is going on, and the next hearing is scheduled on 14th of January. And what we are expecting from that case is that the government will also actively hear the decision of the Supreme Court. And from our side as a community, we have presented a very strong case, given them very adequate information from our side. And we as an exchange are more than happy to consider all their requirements so that they can best regulate it.
But there's no doubt that the Modi government has taken a harsh stance against the cash economy. Back in 2016, banning the 500,000 rupee notes and really cracking down on much of the cash economy there in India, demonetizing much of the economy. So given this move towards a more cashless society, where, if at all, do you think cryptocurrencies can fit into this cashless future of India?
Oh, sure, sure. So I cannot, I don't want to comment on the demonetization part, but I think definitely, as we all aware, Modi government is taking positive steps towards making India a cashless economy. And I think that was expected, given there are a lot of campaigns that are running at massive scale in terms of digitizing India, right? And, and there are a lot of positive developments that are happening in terms of internet penetration and smartphone penetration in India, and especially in the rural parts of India, right? What is interesting to see here is that there is a lot of population, approximately 200 million population, which are still unbanked in India, right? And a cashless economy is the next big move, which can drive all these people and give them banking solutions, right? The current banking solutions are kind of complex for these people. So if blockchain can play a pivotal role in bringing financial inclusion, I think that would definitely be a great step in making India a cashless economy, right? So I think in terms of the Modi government, they are not against blockchain technology. In fact, if you look at the statements that the Indian government and BJP government has given, they are supporting blockchain technology as a whole. What is important here is also to understand where does Bitcoin and decentralized currency fit into the picture, and how to best regulate it, so that we can prevent money laundering. We can build the solutions which are fast, robust, cheaper, and can facilitate our currently financial systems and bring innovation in that direction.
And realistically, you think that the Modi government is on board with that progress, that they want to create either a blockchain-based or a digital asset-based future economy?
I guess so, and I hope so. If you look at the previous statements that the government has given, they are also planning to consider launching their own digital rupee, right? So that's certainly a big step, and that gives a lot of hope to the industry players. Absolutely, they are very positive of blockchain technology. In terms of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, they are still doing their research. There has been government bodies which are trying to talk to different regulatory bodies outside India and trying to understand how to create a framework which will best fit for a country like India. So I'm very hopeful about that.
Okay, certainly. As you say, if India is realistically looking forward to creating a digital rupee, it could be a powerful turn for the country. But that being said, moving beyond the borders of India and looking internationally, China claims it is set to launch its own CBDC in mere months ahead, certainly well ahead of any roadmap laid out inside India, if even indeed there is one. So given that China seems so ahead of the game in this particular arena, should India be concerned about this?
I think that's a great sign. And what is common here is that both India and China are very positive in terms of blockchain technology. So China, President Xi taking a positive step and assuring that China will take proactive steps in blockchain adoption. I think that's a great thing. And this is also a great, signal for Indian government also to consider regulating it and taking steps in that direction. So yeah, I mean, it's very evident that a digital rupee or a digital currency will definitely help in the payment system, in making the payment system more efficient, and especially in a country like India, where remittance is a huge market of $100 billion industry. I think this will create a positive impact.
But I mean, indeed, whether we talk about a digital yuan or a digital rupee, the fact is that in many of the most powerful and wealthiest countries of Asia, governments are still looking to keep control, keep the keys, as it were, to the digital asset technologies that are emerging. A lot of the mantra of blockchain, not Bitcoin, or blockchain, not cryptos, is often stated in both India and China, as you touched on earlier. Are you concerned at all that the lack of willingness to accept, whether it be Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies that exist right now, will stunt the potential for growth in these fields and even wider economically throughout India and Asia as a whole?
Yeah, so if I understand the question correctly, right, I think adoption of Bitcoin will continue to rise. as people are, more and more understanding the benefits of having a true decentralized currency, right? And a lot of it depends upon the, economic stability of the country, right? There has been a lot of developments in the last couple of years regarding, global financial markets. I think in that respect, India adopting, digital rupee is one discussion, but I think in parallel we'll see continue, growth in adoption of Bitcoin and other top digital currencies which have a real use case. I think we are yet to see major real world use cases happening, but when that happens, we will see a lot of adoption in Bitcoin. And in terms of digital currencies like Indian rupee, I think there's a that's a parallel process that the government is evaluating, and a lot of it depends on the country's plans as well, right? So I think in India, it is certainly in pipeline, but I'm not sure when they will launch it, when they are actually ready to start something like that.
As you say, these things can take a distinct amount of time, but I suppose I wonder, let's get a little bit more speculative here and talk about the potential advantages for a country like India. I mean, as I said in my introduction, around almost 1.4 billion people, a huge potential marketplace there. And it has another advantage potentially, which is that developed economies are potentially tied to their legacy financial systems, whereas the developing world, with India as a key player in that, has a potential for skipping ahead and moving forward without being tied to these older systems. What do you see as the role of that position for India looking towards the digital asset economy?
Sure, that's a very great question, right? So here, I think what we should note here is that all these developed economies are very pro blockchain and are working in direction of regulating these new asset class, right? As you mentioned correctly, India certainly has an advantage, to take that step ahead and proactively take steps in regulating it, right? But in terms of the legacy financial systems, right, I think this has helped a lot in the developed nations, but I think for a country like India where the problems are different, I think if we start taking positive steps in terms of regulating it, in terms of adopting it in our existing financial systems, I think that can fast track the rate of growth in Indian financial markets. I think that's that development is yet to be seen, right? But I think yes, if we can positively implement these technologies on our existing systems, I think this will make India a true global power and will also help India to in their mission to become a $5 trillion economy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we've spoken,
and especially in terms of.
Please continue.
Sorry. Yeah, so especially in terms of the geographies, India is, as everyone knows very well, India is a young, young country with average age of around 27 years, right? And I think in a country like India, I think where a lot of global investment is happening, right? And it's easier, it's easy to do business in India. I think new technologies where a lot of people are tech savvy. I think industries like blockchain and cryptocurrencies will definitely be will play an important role in taking India fast forward.
And now, you mentioned as well, Sumit, I mean, you spoke about sort of banking those unbanked, those last couple of 100 million people that you need to get into the digital economy, into the banked economy, but the potential for blockchain and digital asset technology to help with that. But it is still, at this stage, currently quite a complex technology to get on. Even, getting yourself onto an exchange, onboarding into a process like that, as I'm sure you well understand. Is it realistic to think that cryptocurrencies as they stand now will be the solutions, or does more work need to be done?
I think there's some more work that needs to be done in terms of educating people about the technology part. And the second thing that we need to focus on is on the user experience. As you very well mentioned correctly, it's still difficult for people to onboard to an exchange and understanding how to send funds or send crypto, these digital assets, from one address to another, right? So there's a lot of gap here, which we as a company is trying to fulfill via our initiatives that we are taking, especially for the Indian market. So I think there is still some time when we need to create more awareness, more education in terms of adoption, in terms of bringing more people into this new asset class, right? Very few people in India are have understanding about digital assets or cryptocurrencies or even blockchain technologies, I am very confident that there's still a lot of chunk of people, especially tech people who are into the software development field, who want to jump into this domain, but are not jumping because of uncertainty of regulations, or they are not very sure how can they best onboard in this industry, right? There are very few industries, very few companies in India, but I think that will change over the next few years or few months, and I am personally seeing a lot of positive progress on that side. But I think it's a function of regulation. As the regulations gets more and more clearer, we will see hundreds and thousands of new companies solving very interesting problems and building big billion-dollar businesses out of this.
Okay, and maybe an important goal to step into as we come to the end of 2019, into 2020, a new decade, a new year, perhaps some new goals to put forward. Sumit Gupta, CEO and co-founder of CoinDCX, I want to thank you for having this critical conversation with us today about India, the development that's taking place in that huge potential economy. Look forward to seeing how it does develop into the future. And for those at home, stay with us at blocktv.com for all the latest in news and information. I'm Asher Westrop Evans. Thanks for watching.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.